Bro, you think hiding in a cave is the safest thing to do when it's raining, right? Wrong, bro, so wrong. Imagine this. You're just chilling in your cave, feeling all safe and dry, when suddenly, flash flood. Water just starts pouring in. And you've got one single bone to paddle with. Plot twist. Why were they dumb enough to live in a cave during a flood in the first place? Or was it their only choice? Let's find out. All right, let's rewind like 40,000 years, bro. Picture this. It's absolutely dumping rain. You're running like your life depends on it, which, well, it kinda does. All you want is a cave to crawl into. And then you see it. A rocky overhang. You sprint inside, collapse, and let out the biggest sigh of relief of your life. Finally safe, you think. Fast forward a few hours. You hear something weird. Gurgle, gurgle. You look down at your feet, and there's water, bro. It's rising. Wait a minute, is this cave just a trap? But here's the real thing, bro. Our ancestors weren't dumb enough to just pick any random cave. When the rain got heavy and just wouldn't stop, rock shelters and caves were their first and most important refuge. The problem? Living in a cave during heavy rain came with a serious risk. Flash floods could sweep in at any moment. Archaeologists found solid proof of this. At a site called Red Balloon Rock Shelter in South Africa, stone tools from the Middle Stone Age were buried under a layer of dry mud. That means there was a period way wetter than today. So wet that floodwaters actually entered the cave and buried everything inside. It's like you're sitting in your living room, you open the front door, and boom, there's a river flowing through your house. Wild, right? But they weren't stupid. They picked their caves carefully. It had to be high enough so water couldn't reach them. It needed a back exit, an escape route, and there had to be high-up storage for food. These were survival rules that not everyone knew back then, but the smart ones did. Alright, so caves weren't 100% safe. We get it. But here's something our ancestors were way better at than we give them credit for. They knew when to travel. They had a seasonal strategy. Sediment analysis from Maedun Cave in Korea, dating back about 30,000 to 40,000 years, shows something wild. Late Paleolithic people used these shelters seasonally. Scientists found evidence that they hunted grazing animals nearby and used wild oats that grew close to their shelters as food. Here's the coolest part. Heavy summer monsoon rains washed pollen and freshwater algae into the cave. That's how archaeologists know. They were there during the rainy season. They moved into rock shelters seasonally, surviving by hunting and gathering while waiting for the weather to dry up. These weren't just random brutes chasing meat. They had a schedule, bro. They knew when it would rain and when it would dry. They knew where food would be based on the season. It's like a survival machine. And it was shockingly smart. So what's the takeaway, bro? Our ancestors basically had a rainy season resort 40,000 years ago. Seasonal migration, hunting and gathering. Alright, so now our ancestors knew how to migrate seasonally. Cool. But once you're in that cave, what do you eat? No Uber Eats, no DoorDash, bro. Nothing. So you gotta go hunt, but it's pouring rain. You look outside and see a massive woolly mammoth stomping by, and your brain goes, jackpot. One mammoth equals food for the whole tribe for a week. You grab your spear, charge out into the storm. Vision is zero. Ground is pure mud. You throw your spear, miss. You throw again, miss. The mammoth just turns around and looks at you like, you serious, bro? And that's when you realize, hunting a mammoth in the rain is a stupid idea. But here's the real stuff, bro. Here's where it gets good. Heavy rain didn't mean they just sat in the cave all week doing nothing. They had to adapt their hunting strategies. Studies from places like the Western Sahara show something fascinating. During the wetter period, about 9,000 to 6,000 years ago, humans adapted to the rainy environment by hunting smaller animals, gazelles, hares, things that could actually be caught. Why? Because in the rain, big animals struggle to move, muddy ground, low visibility. They usually just hide. But small animals? They're still hopping around like nothing's wrong. Our ancestors figured this out and switched targets. Instead of hunting one big mammoth, they hunted 10 rabbits. Easier, safer, and honestly, more meat in the long run if you know what you're doing. They also took advantage of the puddles and pools that formed after rain to get water, and they harvested wild plants that grew during the wet season. Sorghum, millet, wild beans. So it wasn't just hunting, it was gathering too. A smart, diversified food strategy. Bottom line, bro, our ancestors didn't try to hunt mammoths in the rain. They hunted rabbits and picked grass. They knew how to choose the right prey for the weather. It's like when there's a storm outside, you don't go to some fancy restaurant. You just walk to the 7-Eleven on the corner and grab a hot dog and a Slurpee. Not glamorous, but you survive, bro. But there's one huge problem left. How do you get fire? You're freezing cold, you're starving, and there are predators lurking outside. You reach for 2 sticks and start rubbing. Rub, 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 like your life depends on it, which, honestly, it kinda does. Sweat pouring down your face. You rub for like an hour and nothing happens. And then you remember, oh wait, the neighbor in the next cave has fire. You run over to borrow some, but it's been raining all week. His fire died too. And that's when it hits you. Keeping fire alive in the rain is harder than keeping a girlfriend, bro. But here's the real thing, bro. One of the biggest challenges during long rainy periods was keeping fire alive. The most important thing for cooking, staying warm, and scaring off wild animals. Our ancestors didn't have lighters. They didn't have matches, but they invented multiple ways to create and preserve fire. Experimental archaeology shows they had techniques for making fire, by striking flint or rubbing sticks together. But more importantly, they preserved fire by keeping embers inside rock holes or clay pots. Imagine having to carry a burning ember with you everywhere you go, bro. All day, every day, like carrying a ticking time bomb, except it's a fire bomb. And when it rained, they focused on indoor activities inside the cave, making stone tools, crafting pottery, and making jewelry from clay or ostrich eggshells. They turned rainy days into the prehistoric version of work from home. Except they were making spears and bowls, and you're doing Excel and Google Docs. So here's the bottom line, bro. Next time you lose power and need to light a candle, remember, our ancestors had to rub 2 rocks until they smoked and swayed just to get a tiny flame. And us? Just flick the lighter and we're done. This world is so unfair, bro.